How's it going? My name is Ryan. I'm a PTA at Midlands Orthopaedics here in Irma location. Today I'm going to show you a couple of static stretches that we can do for running, and then Tim is going to show you some dynamic stretches you can also do for running. There's two ways you can stretch out the hamstring. One is sitting, which seems to be the less intense of the two. Your back is straight, your leg is straight, and then you kind of lean forward until you feel the pull on the back of your leg, and you want to hold it for at least 15 seconds. That's a pretty good stretch there. And then you relax, and then you do that 2 or 3 times. And the other way of doing it is long sitting. So you're up here, this is more intense of the two. And then you would do the same. The leg is straight, you can kind of give some overpressure here on your thigh if you want to, and then you just lean forward, again holding that for about 20 seconds, and you make sure your back is straight. You're not rounding over it or anything.
Hi, I'm Tim. I'm a physical therapist with Midlands Orthopaedics in Irma. Ryan showed you real quick earlier how to do some more static stretching for the hamstring to loosen up so you don't pull a hammy on your run. A great follow-up to that is a little bit more dynamic with some movement. So we'll use a single leg Romanian deadlift where we're focusing on keeping the knee straight so we get a nice good contraction through that back of that hamstring. So kind of alternating your ankle, your hip, and your shoulder want to stay in line on the leg that you're lifting up. So if I take a step with my left, I'm going to kick down with my right, get a good stretch, and then I can come on up through and work into some hip flexion, and then I can take a step with my right leg, kick my left one up, going down, and then come up into hip flexion. A lot of times you can go ahead and combine that as well to where you go through an RDL, going down, get that good hamstring stretch, that eccentric contraction, and then you can actually come up and stretch out the glute a little bit there too, and then swap legs, just alternating, so that way you're going ahead and you're loosening up as you're moving as opposed to just sitting. So really commonplace, people get issues with running. They'll get some nice little stitches in the front of their hips as well. Everybody knows these here. So a good way to kind of go ahead and loosen up your hips is to stretch out the hip flexor first. So there's a couple of different ways you can do that. You can do kind of a Captain Morgan stretch where you put one foot up. Well, let's do the right foot up, so that way the left hip is going to be the one stretching. So go ahead and walk it back a little bit, put a little bit of kind of forward lean into your hip, and then stretch on in until you feel that pull right through the hip flexor in the front of the hip. Okay? You can also do that in half kneeling, to where now I'm going to drop my left knee down, again to stretch out my left hip flexor. I'm here, nice and tall, okay? I'm going to push forward from the pelvis and lean in, and I can stretch out my hip and some of my quad, the muscle on the front of your thigh there as well. And then to follow up those stretches, hold each one about 15 seconds to 30 seconds, maybe 2-3 times to loosen up, is to actually do some controlled articular rotations, or CARs, okay? Where you're going to bring that hip up into flexion, and then we're going to bring it out into some external rotation and abduction, and then coming back down. When you do that, make sure that you're not twisting your pelvis to do it, that your pelvis stays straight and the movement actually comes from the hip joint itself.